The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Welcome to the Forever Fab podcast. It is the podcast dedicated to fashion, the art of living well, and all things beauty. I'm your host, Dr. Shirley Madere, your purveyor of this definitive source of living a beautiful life. This week's episode is dedicated to openness. The name of this week's episode is Transition, Transformation, and Transcendence: How Transgender Activism May Teach Us to Evolve and Let Go. Welcome, everyone, to my interview with Ms. Jody Patterson. Hi, Jody.
How are you?
Thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure. You know how much I love being around you.
It is so mutual. I'm so sorry that it has to be in the context of social distancing, but the fact that I get to see you and hear you is fantastic for me. Thank you for joining.
I feel the same way. Hi.
Hi. So a not so brief introduction. I couldn't help myself because you are indeed the personification of Wonder Woman. So I'm going to give it. I see it. The glitter, the metallic. I love it. I wore glitter eyeshadow just for you today.
You know what it is like, and this is probably every single person that I know. It's just a series of maneuvers every day.
Every day.
My roof is leaking.
Yeah.
In places.
That's crazy.
That we live under, right? So the roof is leaking. It's hard to find someone who's going to help me.
Yes.
And I just had to take everything. Books, clothing with my office and move it out of the room and just sort of isolate that room. So, and then make breakfast and then get to you and then walk the dog. And so I put my one.
Oh my gosh. Well, it sounds like you are living the themes: isolation, separation, detoxing, clearing out. Mm-hmm. So, Ms. Jody Patterson, you are a social activist on top of Wonder Woman, indeed. You're an author, an entrepreneur, you're a founder, you're a creator. You have a very rich life, and you simply make beautiful things happen, if I say so myself. So, Jody Patterson created the cosmetics companies Dubop and Georgia, reflecting her distinctive voice within the beauty industry. Dubop launched in 2014 and is an online beauty marketplace catered to women of color. Kudos to that. And Georgia, by Jody Patterson, is an all-natural line of skincare. Congratulations on that, too. Those brands have received notable press in outlets including the New York Times, Glamour, Vogue, Japanese Vogue, Teen Vogue, More, Essence, Ebony, Uptown, and Domino, among so many others. And in 2014, you were awarded the Beauty Skin Expert of the Year by Cosmopolitan.
I forgot about that. I was.
Yes, honey. I found it. Before entering the beauty industry, you served as director of PR for a fashion designer, Zach Posen. So sorry to see him go. And you oversaw his press outreach, his public appearances, speech writing, and Fashion Week management. For a number of years, you also ran your own boutique PR agency, which I did not know. And you worked closely with formidable brands like Nike, Virgin Records, Sean John, and the Lincoln Center. Some of those brands who, thank goodness, are really helping to give back to the community during this pandemic. And to your entrepreneurial resume, you also added that you're the co-owner of the acclaimed Joe's Public Theater in New York City, and you helped to develop their marketing and promotion strategy for the groundbreaking launch. Now, yes.
When things are print, they sound so impressive, and I just want to jump in because it's starting to give me this anxiety. It's like when people start to talk about your accolades, but all of this was collaboration. Every single thing talked about was collaboration. And as an entrepreneur, we know this. It's like you have a title, it might be co-owner, you have a title, and it might be CEO, but it's collaboration from beginning to, and it just, I look back at all the things that I've done, and I think all of the people that I've worked with, from husbands to ex-husbands, partners, and that's what's been able to allow me to do all of this sort of really vast work.
Understood. And I thank you for saying that, because I too believe in the spirit of collaboration. There are so many things in my life I couldn't have done or can't get done without the help of other people. I must say this also, that as women and as professional women, we're strapped with, imposter syndrome. We're not feeling enough, or, oh, it's not me, it's everybody else. I want to take this time, and I'm going to go on with your bio. I want to take this time to acknowledge you. Those people who came together to help you, to assist you, to collaborate with you, were drawn to you. So I'm going to take a couple more minutes to give you the credit you absolutely deserve and more, honoring those who collaborated with you, but also honoring you as the individual who helped to make it happen. Okay, so to continue, check this out. Here's a fun fact. Even before your beauty career, right, you started as a state champion gymnast and a circus acrobat, and you performed for the Big Apple Circle. Hello. Oh, I love it. Linguistically, you're also a champ. You studied literature and went on to spend several years working at publishing houses such as Scholastic and the New Press, and we'll talk about how you have your publishing accolade momentarily. On top of this, you're the mother of 5, including an 8-year-old transgender son, Penelope, correct?
He is now 12.
He is 12, so 12 years old. And he became the catalyst for a fundamental reexamination of your identity, your sense of self, your family dynamic, all deeply appreciating not only your household and this son, but also the world. As a result, you're a fierce LGBTQI ally and activist. You especially advocate for transgender children, and your activism has been praised and recognized by Hillary Clinton, GLAAD, Family Circle, Cosmopolitan, Yahoo, Refinery 21, so many other outlets. You're an international speaker, and you are the author of The Bold World, which we'll talk about, a memoir of family and identity, and that was published by Penguin Random House. And it's also being considered for a TV series. Do I hear that right?
How did you get all this information? You're like a resource of all the nitty gritty.
Yes.
It's being looked at by this fabulous team of women. And I will just say that several women who have an incredible reputation and history in the field have it under their wing and are working their magic on this story to bring it to life in series form.
Wow.
And again, another collaboration, not one woman, but like a lot of women come together. So that's
right. We're going to talk about your tribe later. You have many tribes. In 2017, you gave a TEDx talk in Germany, right? It was called Gender is Obsolete.
Yeah.
Love
really,
it.
really dramatic title.
Yes, very dramatic title, but I meant to look that up, but everybody listening, please go find that TEDx talk by Jody Patterson, Gender is Obsolete. Your work is tireless, Jody. This is why your bio is so rich and so full, as is your life. Do I have it right that you're the newly elected chair for the board of directors of the Human Rights Campaign?
Yeah, so the Human Rights Campaign is an organization that I've been working with for years. Personally, they helped me help my family sort of stabilize and understand trans reality.
Yeah.
And find support. And then I was elected the chair of the board of the Human Rights Campaign Foundation.
And you are the only woman, the only Black woman, or the only woman, the first woman?
Black woman to be chair of the board foundation, yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
I'm not sure. Sometimes I hear about these firsts.
Yes.
First Black woman too. And the way I look at it, less of a mirror of me. I've been doing me for a long time. I've been really good at me. And it's more of the organizations and of the culture. The culture is just now starting to see us.
Yes.
And, I'm not dissing the culture. I'm just saying that when you look at places where they have the first Black woman, it is a recognition that they are breaking through.
Yes.
They are seen differently. There are many great ones in our community. There are so many great women. And so I always like to say this is a reflection of the change that's happening outside. We have been phenomenal for so many years. And
Yes,
so many.
amen.
So.
Well, congratulations to that. You are also sitting on the board of the advisory board for the Ackerman Institute of Gender and Family Projects. And you're on the advisory team for both Mount Sinai's Transgender Health Center and the Community of Unity, which is also a non-for-profit organization serving underserved kids in New York City public schools. Lastly, you live in Brooklyn, New York, where you raise your children with love, obviously, education, and family solidarity. Welcome, Jody, to the Forever Fab podcast.
Thank you. That was very deep to hear your life through the words in the mouth from someone that you really respect is a great thing. And one of the things I really appreciate about this time is that we actually are spending more time talking with each other. And some days it's much. I know I've done like 5 Zooms some days, but the essence of it is great. We're actually speaking with each other.
Yes, we're speaking. I see you, gorgeous. I see you. So first question, let's dig right in. How did you start in the beauty industry and what motivated you to seek to contribute more beauty to the world?
So this was so many moons ago. I was working for Zach Post, who's a friend of mine and a designer. I was his director of PR. And I was pregnant with my second child, and I was trying to keep it a secret because it's a grueling industry.
Yes.
Doesn't always welcome pregnant women. And so I was trying to keep it a secret. And of course, my belly was growing. And eventually I had to tell Zach and the team that I was pregnant. And in the end, I chose to, I was put on bed rest by my doctor.
Okay.
I was doing too much.
Yeah.
And so
no kidding.
I know, right? Like on bed rest, my niece sent me a documentary on the history of Black hair care. And it was a several part series, and it talked about how the business of Black hair care used to be a very insular business, that we were making products for ourselves and we were owning our own stores. And then gradually over time, other communities came in and then dominated our own beauty. Not only the business, but the culture of it and the measurement.
Representation of it, yes.
Representation of it. And so I just thought from my bed, pregnant with my second child, that I would do something in beauty, because why not? It's something I enjoy. It's something I know. And it's felt like something I could do with my family.
Yes, yes.
My children, with, the sisters that I have and the mother that I have. I just didn't think it was something that I didn't have to do and isolate my family from.
Yes.
Of course, pregnant, you're thinking collectively, like, what can I do with my baby and my... And so really naively opened up a beauty boutique in Manhattan.
Yes.
I didn't know anything about retail. Hold on. So I kind of like unrealistically and very optimistically opened up a beauty boutique in Lower Manhattan, knowing nothing of merchandising, knowing nothing of buying, but just knowing a lot about beauty and what I wanted as a customer. And the store was supposed to be for women like you and me, brown skin, hair.
Yes.
And the irony of it was, for the first 2 years, it was just white women and Asian women.
Interesting.
And I had handpicked all this great beauty product that I thought would be great for Black women and brown women from all over the world.
Yes.
Great for us. And it turned out just women, Asian women, white, eventually brown women, Black women enjoyed it. So that was my first dip into beauty. I had my own store, and then I created my own beauty line.
Yes.
And then I had my own small salon, my own hair boutique.
Yes.
And that eventually morphed into an online store called Dubop,
right,
which selling product online and running a magazine around beauty and identity online. And then I sold that eventually.
Yes, you did.
To the folks who had Shea Moisture at the time.
Wonderful. Now, while you were doing all of this, what would you say were some of the challenges that you met, whether it was in the beauty business or whether it was doing the business and having a second child? What were some of the biggest challenges then?
You know, I'd say in the beginning, retail is very much mercurial, and it depends on the weather. It depends on a holiday. It depends on the mood of your sales team.
Exactly. The mood of the consumer.
The mood of the consumer. And a lot of times in New York, you know, our stores are underneath apartments.
Yes.
So it was dependent on if our neighbor upstairs remembered to turn the water off.
Yes.
And it flooded into our store. It was just a constant grind, and we had to be really nimble to react and respond to critical situations, right? Like flood, like no money to pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was like an eye opener to kind of figure out, you had a plan yesterday, circumstances changed. How do we pivot in the immediate right now?
Right.
That's a mental flexibility tool that I had to learn really quickly as an entrepreneur.
And in 2015, in a Facebook post, again, something I dug for and found out, one of your staff members wrote, quote, "We built our business around storytelling. To us, what women are thinking is more important than how we are looking." So with all of your experience in your beauty career, and what did that experience and Dubop teach you about beauty and women of color or women in general, and what exactly women are thinking about when it comes to beauty? What did you discover?
What I was thinking at the time was that, you know, there's so much conversation around our eyelashes and our cheekbones and the size of our lips and the size of our hips and the wave, the density to our wave in our hair, right? And we had been micromanaging our bodies, and other people had been micromanaging our bodies. And what I was concerned with, and what I knew was this intense brain activity that women also, right? We have an intense ability to visually see things. We have an intense ability to create things and to dissect things mentally. And I wanted to get into the mental part of it.
Yes.
That wasn't about rejecting beauty, because clearly I was in the beauty industry and I love beautiful things, but it was about taking the first step. What do women think about? And then we'll understand what they purchase. And then we'll understand why they chose the red lipstick versus the pink today.
Yes.
We'll understand what it really means to adorn your hair, right?
Yeah.
I was interested in, and I still am interested in, what's happening on the inside that then comes out as presentation.
Yes, you and I have that in common. We've talked a lot about that, about the psychology of beauty, the motivation for wanting to feel more attractive or beautiful. It's powerful. And it really informs my practice, at least, of holistic plastic surgery or holism, because for me, I try to understand what the motivation is and what's going on the inside and how I can help that manifest in a beautiful way on the outside.
I can completely agree with you. And I think it allows us to not have to be so polarized in our ideas. Like, well, if you like beauty, then you're superficial.
Right.
If you like to write books, then you're, too intellectual.
Yeah.
And I think beauty and intellect and the spirit and the physicality, the faith and the in the moment, all of that can exist in one woman, right?
Yes, 100%. Or they all exist along a spectrum. And sometimes they're on one end of the spectrum, sometimes they're in the middle. Yeah, I hear you. I've been trying to push that for years now. So gathering everything that you've learned about beauty and in beauty and your beautiful experiences in life. One last question about the industry. What do you think the state of beauty is today, and where do you see the industry going in the future, especially in light of what's going on?
I think that the industry of beauty, and even I'll include the industry of fashion from my perspective, from the brands that I'm looking at, reach out to me, it has really understood that the brand is the woman, that the motivation is, and that what matters most around business, it's not economics first, it's emotion first. That will drive economics, right? That will drive purchase. But the authenticity of a brand and of the success of a company is here, all of this, right? So I think what I'm learning and what I'm really excited to see is that brands are wanting to speak with women and wanting to understand women so that their companies become like a woman. Right. They don't become like machines anymyour At least the brands that I know of, and the brands that are really trying to push through this crisis. They're calling like, who's your girl tribe? Who are your women? What are they talking about? What are you really doing? Not the color of lipstick, right? Not the type of dress that you're wearing, but what's happening in here. And that's really interesting to me and really inspiring, that brands are starting to think like a woman.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you're saying they're starting to think. One would have thought that forever the foundation of a beauty company was that their products were a reflection of the consumer, but obviously they've gotten away from that, even if they did start that way. So I'm going to quote you on that. I love it. Emotion first, that will drive economics. So let's talk about some interesting things, other things you've done in your life. Physicality. You were a gymnast and an acrobat, and you actually performed for the Big Apple Circus years ago, right? What valuable lessons did you learn about performing in a huge crowd and performing, risky things? Did you learn valuable life lessons about fear, about taking risk? And did those experiences leave you with a new perspective about the direction you wanted to go in life?
Absolutely. In my house, sports was a non-negotiable. So you could pick your, but you had to do a sport. And so often I chose gymnastics and tennis. And it was, if you can master the fundamentals on the court, the tennis court, you can master the fundamentals of life.
Yes.
And in karate, it's the same way. One of my kids is into karate, and the master says, it's always the basics. And then you take those basics and you do them over and over again. And that is where you get through. That's how you break through. That's how you become a champion, by mastering the basics. And through gymnastics and circus, I really learned to, one, find gratitude in small incremental accomplishments. So you don't go today and learn a backflip. It's like week after month after month after a year, then you perfected the backflip. But I like to see small measures of success. And that, to me, I know I'm going to get to the backflip. So I learned how to appreciate small measures of success, incremental gain. I also learned flexibility.
Yes.
Every day you work on physical flexibility. And if you look at the studies, mental flexibility is tied to physical flexibility. So I now talk to my family about being mentally flexible.
Yes.
Right. Being able to wrap your brain around really big, foreign concepts. Right. I also learned to get in the zone, which some people call a prayer. But athletes do this. And if you listen to the Calm app, there's some really great meditations by athletes, and they talk about it, about how you have to zone out everything else and tune out the noise and really get into either it's the basketball or the hoop or the balance beam, but really zoning in and tuning out the noise. These are some of the things that I've learned. And then taking a leap, taking a fucking leap. Yeah. It's nothing you can overly talk about. You have to have been trained to do it. And then if you haven't in the past, you have to start now training yourself to take these physical, mind-blowing, scary leaps. And athletes know that. And so, they're not without, you sort of understand the risk, and they're not reckless is what I'm saying. These aren't reckless.
Right.
They're calculated leaps, but they still require an element of faith.
Absolutely.
Don't know if you're going to land on that damn beam.
Because you will. And if you don't, that a net will appear.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So take that leap, even when the net isn't there, take that risk, knowing that along the way down, hope, a net will appear. I love that too. That's fantastic. And when you talk about just being in the zone, for me, I'm going to have to apply those little steps toward my handstand practice in yoga, because it's been years and I just can't get it done. So little steps of being in the zone and in the flow and appreciating those basic little steps. And one day I'll be on my hands upside down. Yeah. You are the author of The Bold World. And you state in the book that you would not have written that book had you not been, quote, slapped in the face by life. So explain what that means.
Well, to have to take us back a bit. So at the time, I have 5 children, and I had one, and then I had a break for several years, and then I did 3 back to back, and then I adopted one. And so in my 40s, I found myself a happy mom of 5.
Wow.
And I was on my second marriage, my second relationship, and I was an entrepreneur. I had my beauty store. Life was really dense every morning, every afternoon, every night. There were lots of darts coming at me that I had to deal with, from children's to husband to ex-husband, right, to myself. And I was juggling, as we do, and I was trying to surf the wave, but I felt like I was actually about to be overtaken by the wave of life. I was seeing it coming, that it was just too much. And then the straw that broke the camel's back, my third child, who we named Penelope, said to me one day, after a year of just being so unhappy and so angry and so nightmares, reoccurring nightmares, biting nails until bloody.
Wow.
Refusal to dress, refusal to go outside. I finally sat Penelope down and I asked, what is so wrong, baby? Why are you so angry? And it was the first time I'd asked Penelope that question. And Penelope answered very clearly, Mama, because everyone thinks I'm a girl and I'm not. I am a boy.
Wow.
And it was a slap, because it was not, Penelope came in peace. It wasn't an aggressive approach from Penelope, but the reality that I had no understanding of what the reality was. Was the slap. That's like when you wake up from a dream or a sleep, is when you are almost, when I'll tell you this, when there's a collision.
Yeah.
And the collision was what I thought was life versus what Penelope was experiencing as life. They collided, and I felt that as a slap. And I thought, oh shit, let me really investigate.
Yeah.
Let me see what's going on.
It
took years, but I understand Penelope to be transgender, not to be angry, but to be a kid who was trying as best as he could to explain it to me. And I was just so busy that I didn't pick up on the signs.
I am just impressed with Penelope, that need for self-expression and authenticity. He was so sure of that and just had to get it out, that, especially at that age, is beyond courageous. Beyond.
We raise my kids to be activists and outspoken people and free thinkers. And half the time I tell you, I'm not even sure if I'm doing the right thing, because they're mouthy and they're
sassy.
Yeah, they're just, they're what my mother considers rude. And what is rude. And they're like, Mom, we're just trying to tell you how we feel. We're just trying to show you that this is the way you're doing it isn't right. And I get a lot of that from them, a lot of mouth. But ideally, if you let it play out, you have guidelines, you have structure, and you let your kids speak up now, because they got to speak up when they leave the house.
Yeah, very true.
And so I see my 20-year-old. So like my young kids feel annoying a lot of the times to me.
Yeah.
But my 20-year-old, who I've tested this out now, she is an independent, free-thinking woman who
is empowered.
She's driving her life. And so that's, I think, reason to keep this strategy up of letting my kids speak their mind.
Well done, Jody. You also mentioned, even before The Bold World, you also mentioned that you wanted to write a book for some time. And I don't know how much time before you actually wrote The Bold World, but at what point in your life did you decide that you were ready to write a book? And I know that you said that life slapped you in the face with Penelope's declaration, but even before that, were you motivated to write a book, and why?
I have been thinking about writing a book for years. I'm a writer. I studied literature at Spelman, and I'm always journaling, and I'm always writing, and I'm always on the phone. So I had 5 books in my head.
Yes.
And I chose the timing was based on a lot of things. I sold my company.
Yes.
So I had a couple of months where I could relax.
Yes.
Not months to relax. And I had a partner, a husband who was committed to supporting me financially. And so I could carve out an entire summer where I wrote a proposal. And it was something that had been sort of burning in my brain, but I had a busy life and I didn't have the ability to carve out the time. So thank thank God for some blessings. I could carve out the time. I spent a summer writing a proposal. And then it sort of just domino from there, where I found an agent and an editor that was fantastic. And it took about 2.5 years to finish that book. But but I'll say, always in me. I wanted to write. I wasn't sure how to make time, but I also wasn't sure the exact story I was going to tell. And the story became very clear.
Yes.
Time to really devote to it. And I know a lot of women have something inside of them that they're trying to get out. And our backs are up the wall because we don't have a lot of time on our hands.
Right.
Creators need quiet. Creators need space. Creators need a door to close. And as moms, as Black women, we don't always have that. We rarely have that.
You've just listened to part 1 of Forever Fab podcast. Please stay tuned for part 2, coming up next.